Thanks for joining us. It's 12:03. We're hoping to be in and out of here in the next hour. We have a special guest before we launch into TWGGA updates and what's going on in the TWGGA office. And we break out into our regional meetings. We want to welcome, as advertised, Kimberly Frost. Wave your hands so we know what screen you're in. And Kyle Frazier, our lobbyist, with some updates. So thanks for joining us. We had an awesome educational sessions this morning. Justin Shiner and Meredith Eaton, raise your hands. How do you do that? How do you do that on a screen? We're responsible for putting together some very compelling, timely content, right? What's going on in the cellar right now, issues that we're dealing with through harvest, right? When your wine does undergo malolactic and you didn't want it to, or you do it on purpose. But it was really good, really good. And we had great turnout this morning for those educational sessions. But Kimberly and Kyle, Sabrina's going to try to pin them. Kimberly is our attorney, not exclusively our attorney, but TWGGA retains her services for all things alcohol and beverage related. She's definitely the authority on that subject and anything related to TABC. And as you guys know, there's a lot of things going on at TABC right now, especially with regards to your festival permit. And Kyle is our all things advocacy. He's our lobbyist, and he works closely with Kimberly on some of these TABC issues, amongst other things. So I'm going to give them the floor.
Okay, you guys, you want me to just sort of take it from the top and talk a little bit about all of the things that are happening, and then we'll get specifically in the weeds on festivals. Okay, effective tomorrow, TABC's new online licensing system goes live, and also the permit consolidations happen. So if you're a person who has a G, a GF, and an O, then starting tomorrow, you just have one mega permit. And also starting tomorrow, your permit number changes. And even though you don't have a festival permit and a private carrier permit anymore, you can still do the things that are authorized by those permits. The legislature cut away, it repealed all those subordinate permits and put all the authorities under the one big mega winery permit that does it all. You also don't need a separate permit to store off-site anymore. So you won't be renewing storage permits or private carrier or festival permits when the time comes to renew. Starting tomorrow, there's the new AIMS license application system. That's where you would file a new application, file a renewal application, report any changes to owners and officers. The way you get started in that system is to go on into the system through TABC's website and claim your business. A principal party, that's an owner or officer who's already been reported to TABC, has to do that. You go in and claim your business, and in a few days you get an email from TABC saying, okay, your business has been claimed. Now you have this account. If you don't have a renewal application or a need to get a temporary event approved in the next few weeks, there is no reason to rush and go do that tomorrow. The system is going to be bananas for the first week. If you don't have a renewal coming up and don't have a festival to request, I would just sit tight. Don't get in the fray this week. You don't need to claim your business and get set up in AIMS until you need to file something. And the things you might need to file are renewal application or a request for a temporary event authorization. And PS, you can keep doing both of those things on paper forms. They want to move everybody online, but if you looked up one morning and hadn't gotten your business claimed and needed to file a renewal, you could still file on paper forms. So if you don't hear anything else from me today, hear this: don't dive into this new system tomorrow unless you need to get set up to file something right away. Give it a few weeks, and then once you get in there and set up, you'll get your approval to claim your business will happen faster, all sorts of things. We got early access to AIMS for a client just because they wanted some people to test drive it. And even with almost nobody in the system, it took 3 days for our claim your business to get approved. So, all right. Then once you are set up in AIMS, you'll be able to file your renewals there, file amendments there, file new original applications there. and request temporary event authorization. So TABC is getting away from the term winery festival certificates. And if you've ever heard of mixed beverage establishments pulling caterer certificates, they've gotten away from that nomenclature entirely. So now the temporary approvals that a business might need to do something away from their main premises falls into one of two categories, a temporary event authorization or a file and use notice. You guys are all going to be living in the temporary event authorization world, because the folks who you can only do a file and use notice for private events. So, you know, if I'm a caterer and I'm catering at a wedding or something, and it's not paid for, and it's only the bride's invitees that are coming, that's a kind of private event that can be file and use now. Any event that's, you know, open to the public or ticketed, like a winery festival, is going to be a public event, and that's going to require temporary event authorization. There's no application fee for that, but you know, if you file out closer to the event than 10 business days before, you get hit by those late fees. So, and they're not calling them late fees now, they're calling them expedite fees. But anyway, so be sure you're filing more than 10 business days before, because we're back to the universe of getting a specific approval, not just file and use like guys have been doing for the last couple of years. So there are also, if you go to TABC's website, you'll also see forms for nonprofits. I'm not talking about those here because none of y'all are that. So for just an ordinary festival that you want to participate in, you're going to TABC. You either get set up in Ames and file a temporary event authorization through the new system Ames, or you'll go on TABC's website and find the form, and then you fill it out and email it in like you have been doing. So the new terms on that is they're for a minimum of 2 days and a maximum of 4 days. If your event's only 1 day, that's fine. Just put 2 days on there, but only use it for the day you need it. The TABC wants people to have these event authorizations for the load in and load out as well. And a lot of times people were only getting it for the day of the event and not having coverage, you know, the day before when they loaded in. So that's the idea. If you expect to stock up on Friday evening for a Saturday morning wine farmers market, then make your 2 days Friday and Saturday. But if you really can get in and out in just 1 day, well, that's fine too. Just pick a day and put a second day on there, because you have to put 2. And then a maximum of 4, which that's statutory. It's always been that you can only have a festival for 4 days. If you're doing something that's 8 days long, you can file 2.
Yeah,
and
I don't know how many there are total, but
somebody's not muted. But you could get 8 days. You just have to file 2. You have probably heard that the rule that TABC adopted allows for a maximum of 10 events at a single location per calendar year. That's event, not days. But that's super problematic, right? For somebody who goes to the same farmer's market all summer and needs to go to the exact same spot every Saturday for 12 weeks or something. That would be 12 events, and that'd be more than would be allowed under the rule. And the rule as written also allows for exceptions and more than 10 on a case-by-case basis. Well, TABC has heard feedback from industry that that's problematic. What they were trying to accomplish was, you know, somebody pulling caterers permits all the time for some place where they are really effectively having permanent operations and they just need to get a permit. But that's not you guys at a farmer's market. You couldn't get a permit at that farmer's market. It's not a physical, you know, a permanent physical establishment. So TABC heard those comments, and they're having a stakeholder meeting in a few days to revise that 10-day restriction to say a person can only get temporary event authorization for 10 events per year at property they own or lease. So if you're just signing up for a booth at a farmer's market, you're not going to be subject to that 10 event limit. So if everything goes smoothly, that change to the rule won't be effective until late November, early December, depending on how everything winds up on the commission schedule. So if you burn through 10 events before the new rule is effective, you know, TABC, I'm sure, is just going to be super generous with those exceptions to grant more than 10, because they understand the need, and that the rule as drafted didn't quite get there. So I wouldn't sweat it too much if you expect to be at 11, 12, 13 events at a farmer's market or something before this rule change gets effective. So that's everything in my notes that I wanted to cover on the new festivals, but I'm happy to answer questions if there's anything I haven't addressed.
I'm sure you're going to get questions. Sabrina, can we open it up for Q&A real quick?
Yes. What would be helpful is what's helpful, so we don't have people talking over each other. Down in the bottom of your Zoom screen, if you go to reactions, if you open that up, there is a raise your hand. So you can either raise your hand to verbally ask, or you can put it into the chat. I will read the chat questions off. So just give us a little time to work on it. The chat questions are coming in. Let me read them to you, Kimberly. So please keep yourselves on mute. This is from Ann Chastain. I've applied for 3 TEA festival permits so far, 1 day on each permit. 2 were approved as 1-day events. The 3rd was rejected because it was not a 2-day event. The city authorization letter only shows 1 day, so listing on the application that is a 2-day event conflicts with the owner's authorization.
I would just put both days on the application and attach the letter, and if TABC asks, say, what are you going to do? You made me put 2 days on here.
Got it.
Like I said, you don't have to use both days, but you have to put 2 days on the application.
From and Kellerton, our winery association is nonprofit. When we hold our fall event, what do we need to obtain?
Well, what probably happens is all your participants would, in the old days, would have filed festival certificates, because the thing that is available to nonprofits is temporary retail permit, and you guys probably aren't operating. I mean, you could, I don't know how your event is structured. You might be operating as a retailer, but if a bunch of wineries are coming to your space to conduct winery festival activities, then they're all going to go get their temporary event authorizations. If you use the nonprofit authority, the temporary authority that's available to nonprofits, your only option for doing that is as a retailer. And if you're operating as a retailer, then there's a lot more to that question than just what form you fill out, because are you getting sponsorships? How is your retail permit interacting with the wineries that are participating? It's complicated.
Okay. From Scott, and I'm not going to even attempt his last name, Scott P. Why was the change made for file and use with a short-term application window and now must be done 10 days in advance?
Because they made a distinction between public events and private events. Private events are file and use and public events aren't.
From Meredith, can you please address the verbiage? The holder of a TEA may only serve or sell alcoholic beverages for consumption at the location for which this approval was granted. The concern is the wording creates issues with does this create issues with off-premise bottle sales like Granberry Wine Walk?
I haven't talked to TABC about this, but I did shoot Thomas and Shayna an email to ask them what's going on there. I think I know what it is. Mixed beverage establishments can sell cocktails to go and can sell alcohol to go with food. Mixed beverage establishments are also the ones that got what we used to call caterer certificates. They're the ones that have authority to go sell alcohol off-site. And once cocktails to go and mixed beverage selling the alcohol to go became law, TABC took the position that they can't sell to go on a caterer certificate. And they can only sell to go from their main, restaurant establishment where their cooking facilities are and all that. So I think that language is overly broad. I think it's tried to make clear that a holder of a mixed beverage permit who's doing a TEA can't sell for off-premises consumption from the temporary event. The statute allows wineries to sell for on and off premises consumption from a festival certificate. A TABC can't change that by rule or by the instructions on a form. So I just think that was a not completely thought out statement in that instruction. I wouldn't be surprised if they change it because they're not trying to make substantive law changes here.
So
They're just trying
together with
to
the,
make these same forms do one set of forms do a lot. And sometimes when you try to do too much, you don't do it exactly right. Did you want to say something, Roxanne?
yeah, is it when we saw the issue with the 10 days in one calendar year, and we're going to submit changes or recommendations to TABC for that, can we also do it regarding this verbiage?
Sure. You can always say anything you want to TABC. Yeah.
On behalf of TWGGA.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, I think they'll fix it now that I pointed it out to them, but it doesn't hurt for the association to also say the same thing. So it's not just coming from me, but I think they'll go, ah.
Yeah.
Well, and can I chime in just really quick? Want to make sure we cover both issues that I think it creates. Number one, off premise, bottle sales for consumption off premise, but also when you have events where in the city that the event is held, people can walk from booth to booth with an open glass, so I think there's two things we should address there.
Right. So that's what, but all of that is authorized under the Winery Festival statute, and TABC can't change the statute with these rules. Or these aren't even rules, right? These are just instructions on a form. So but it is important to get for TABC to get its own language right, because you don't want some agent to say, our form says you can't do that. Right. I mean, I agree that it's important to get this language right. Because the agents do think TABC can change the law with instructions on a form.
And members are reading the form, and they're not reading the statute either. Our TWGGA members, right?
Right.
So they're going by the form typically.
Right. Right. There's a question up above, Sabrina, about are there any changes to product registration and labeling? And I mean, there are some changes to, but they aren't brand new, right? The Sunset Bill in 2019 made some changes about grounds under which TABC can deny label registrations and that sort of thing. But there are no changes to product registration that are becoming effective September 1. They are looking to move the monthly reports online. That's not supposed to happen September 1, but look for it later this fall.
Unmute. Betty has asked, adding to Merida's question, what if a person walks from one festival permit to another one, such as Grapevine, when a person walks from our G permit or temporary permit in front of our G permit to the City of Grapevine festival permit?
Yeah,
which is on the street.
Temporary event authorization is changing the underlying substantive law. This is just a new way to get a festival certificate.
Betty, does that answer it for you? Betty, you're on mute. There you go.
Yeah, what they've always done at Grape Fest is that a person, I mean, they have big signs up and we have to stop people and tell them, but a person can't walk out of our G permit tasting room onto Main Street because that goes on to the city's permit. Now, this is a little bit different even this year because they're allowing us to have we have our G permit tasting room right there on Great Main Street. And then they're letting us apply for a festival permit, which includes a little bit of sidewalk area so that we can put more tables and people can come and go. So in the past, they've always told us that we can't let anybody leave our business with a glass of wine. So I'm just wondering this time, can they walk from our G permit to our festival permit? I'm sure they can do that, but then can they walk from our festival, out of our festival permit onto the street?
Not if the city says no. I mean, the city can impose those kinds of restrictions.
Oh, okay.
You as a permit holder don't have an obligation. Your permit doesn't require you to control ingress and egress. It's not, you are allowed to let somebody leave your winery premises, but if the city has a prohibition on it, then they get to have that prohibition.
But I could always appeal to them to find out why is it? Do they think it's a TABC rule or is it a rule they want to have? Because if they want to have it as a rule, I understand. But if they want to do it just because they think it's a TABC rule,
It's
I
not.
might.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not.
It's
Okay,
not.
thank you.
The only people who have to, the expression we use is control ingress and egress. The only people who have to tell someone, you can't bring outside alcohol in here, or I can't let you leave without alcohol, are the holders of mixed beverage permits. And even those people can sell to go now. So even that's not a hard and fast rule for them anymore. But a mixed beverage permit is a place where you can go get margarita made with tequila for on-premises consumption. It sells beer, wine, and distilled spirits for on-premises consumption. And those permittees have to control ingress and egress. They can't let someone bring outside alcohol in, and they can't let someone leave with alcohol from inside, except the new to-go laws. But that's the only permit with an ingress egress issue.
Okay, but the city of Grapevine, when they get their festival permit, would you know what kind it is? Do they get a caterer's permit?
I don't know what they're getting. And I don't know if they hold their own permit or if they hire a caterer. If they are hiring someone who in the work, with a mixed beverage permit who is pulling a caterer certificate, what we used to call a caterer certificate, that premises that's covered by the mixed beverage permittee's temporary authorization becomes a mixed beverage premises with the ingress egress restrictions. So they are right to say somebody can't bring an outside alcohol into something that's covered by a mixed beverage permittee's TEA.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Good question, Betty. From Sandro, I wanted clarification that wineries are still allowed to use the new fun permit form for private events.
Well, wineries don't have private events, right? Because festivals have to be public. That's part of the definition of a celebration or other event that's eligible for a festival certificate. So you couldn't pull what we used to call a festival certificate for, a winery, a private wine club party or something like that. You can only pull what we used to call a festival certificate for a public event like a farmer's market or a civic wine festival or a celebration, which includes public, the definition of celebration includes the word public. So wineries are out of the file and use game because all of your events are public. And so TEA.
Interesting. Okay, that's helpful. Tiffany, what do we need to get? What do we need to do to get a permit for 8 consecutive weekends to sell pour wine off-site?
If it's a qualifying festival, then you would get 8 TEAs. Each one for, 2 to 4 days.
Yep. Okay. That's all we have in the chat for now. Anybody else before we move on to Kyle? I wanted to let you all know that I have started an FAQ with a lot of these questions, and answers are kind of coming forth and forward every day. For example, the language that is going to be discussed at the TABC September 10th meeting regarding the farmers markets location issues, that just came about yesterday. So this is an evolving document, and the outcomes are evolving. So we are working closely with Kimberly to have an FAQ on the website. And as new things come up and or you have new questions, please feel free to reach out to me and I will organize getting the information on the FAQ and post it to the website. There is a question about how do we obtain our winery permit number?
They're already in TABC's public inquiry. If you've ever seen public inquiry on TABC's website, they're there now. But when you claim your business and get onboarded into Ames, you'll have it then too. Once you get onboarded into Ames, you'll have kind of a dashboard, and if you had more than one permit, they'll all be there, and you can renew the one that's up for renewal and that sort of thing. If you have all permits all held by the same company, it's the company that will onboard, and then you'll get access to all of the permits issued to that company. And then I should say this because this is important. One principal party inside the company will claim the account, but then you can appoint other people. So, if you've got an office manager who does your work, if we do your work and you want to appoint us, and I think it is super wise to have at least two people, whether they're both in your organization or one of them's you and one of them's me, eligible to access the system. What if somebody goes on vacation? What if the person who signed up, quits and leaves? Redundancy on who has access to the company's account, TABC account, will save you a lot of heartache. Because we see this all the time with TTB, right? This is going to be similar, in the way, the people who are on the permit have access to permits online, TTB's permits online, but you can also give other people access. And it surely does happen that the people with access leave the company and nobody knows the passwords and nobody can get on. And so redundancy, both at TTB and TABC, on who can access your online files is a good idea.
I think you've already addressed this, but Pat is asking, can wineries no longer do private events?
I think we need to clarify that, because I don't know what Pat is saying exactly, but we never were able to go off site to a private event venue and sell wine, right? So if you're doing that, like I've seen, right, where you go into somebody's business and start selling wine, you probably should not be doing that. If you can sell at a festival, a farmer's market, or a public event, and you can do that with the temporary event authorization form, we can go serve wine at a private event, but we cannot sell wine at a private event, right? Pat, does that answer your question? Hopefully. She said yes.
Okay.
There are a couple more questions in there about, did I say you can only do 12 permits a year? Well, right now the rule says you can only do 10 temporary events at the same location per calendar year. TABC has already proposed language to change that, to say you can only have 10 events per year at property the permit holder owns or leases. So that will effectively do away with that 10 event limitation for wineries, because y'all are doing your festivals at other kinds of events. And then Meredith asked, will we use your original G or the Ames number? Your G permit number goes away. every kind of permittee has a new permit number starting tomorrow. TABC will be able to connect the dots, because not everybody realizes that's happening, but everything will be moving to the new permit numbers.
If we wanted to sell wine like a cash bar at a private wedding, would we do a FUN?
No, you can't do that unless
Right.
the wedding's happening on your property.
Right. Correct.
At your licensed premises. And then you don't need anything, right? You can just sell at a cash bar on your winery.
Very, very good questions. Anybody else? Obviously, if, like I mentioned, if you have more questions, feel free to put them in chat. Feel free to email or text me, and we'll get a pretty comprehensive FAQ out for you, hopefully by the end of the week. And just know it's an evolving document as language changes occur. Kimberly, thank you very, very much. Very,
Thank you,
very helpful.
Kimberly.
You bet. Are y'all done with me?
Well, we're never done with you.
We'll send you the follow-up questions.
For today anyway, so that I'll
Yes.
leave y'all to it. All right. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, ma'am.
Talk to y'all later.
Thank you, ma'am. All right. Mr. Kyle is on.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Hope everybody's doing great on this Tuesday. A quick update on our current second call legislative session. If you've read any of the press, you know that it's been a bit of a chore to get to this point with the quorum break. Everybody's back. The process seems to be working to some degree. I will be surprised if the session isn't knocked out, here in the next week or so. And they'll finish probably passing most of the things that the governor wanted to have passed. They still have to come back one more time to deal with a couple of things. One, redistricting. They did get their numbers. My guess is he'll let them go home for a few weeks because it's pretty contentious up here, as you can imagine, and then bring them back maybe sometime later in September, 1st of October, to do the redistricting and to also do something with the remainder of the CARES Act money, which is something in the neighborhood of $17 billion. This is a one-time windfall. And if they don't appropriate it, if they don't do something with it, then it just goes away. And it's not like they can just put it in a bank account. They actually have to pass a budget that appropriates it to various state agencies or however they determine to use it. So more than likely, most of that stuff will occur sometime in the next month or so. None of the things on the governor's call really impacted our industry in any way, which was nice. So there was not any alcohol legislation that was proposed, and so we've been able to just kind of sit back and watch and not be involved. It's as mean and as toxic up here as certainly as I've ever seen it. And they are not playing well or getting along with each other at all. So that's kind of an update on the legislative session. As Kimberly mentioned, with the proposed new festival language and the stakeholder meeting coming up, we are going to produce some comments that we will submit in regards to their proposed changes. And those will be ready for the stakeholder meeting, which is, I think, later this week or first part of next week. And if you have a chance, I would highly recommend that you participate at the stakeholder meeting. It's always online. You have the ability to make comments. If nothing else, it's worth watching and kind of learning how the process goes. So if you have a chance, I'm sure we have the link and the time posted on the website. If not, you can go to TABC and it's that information is available there. A couple of things that your legislative committee has undertaken and we've begun to work on is a program we're calling the Vine Roots program or the Grassroots program. The TWGGA has grown to the point where we now have a large contingent of winery owners and vineyard owners in the state. And if we get most of our folks engaged and involved, we would have a substantial grassroots, a potential grassroots effort. And so we're putting together a grassroots program, which we cleverly call Vine Roots, that will engage our membership and get them involved politically, to become more active in local elections and more active with your local House members and senators. The goal right now is to run this out at Grape Camp. So I am furiously typing away, putting the program together, and hopefully we'll have it ready for Grape Camp. Everybody can look at it, and it'll go a long way to really establishing us as a major force in the alcohol industry in Texas. You think about who else is in the industry. And we've got the numbers, and so it seems like it's time to undertake something like this. But it'll be well worth our time and effort, and well worth your time and effort to participate in the program. And I hope everyone does. Obviously, it's voluntary, but this type of activity pays huge dividends over the life of the program, and helps ensure the stability of your business and the laws that regulate your business. Stay tuned for that, and we'll have that out before too long. Another program that we are undertaking that the legislative committee has agreed to and the board has approved is a general purpose political committee. And this will be a committee that raises funds to give contributions to elected officials or people running for office. And again, this is a new initiative. It's something we've never really done before. We've raised money before in the past, but typically it's what we refer to as bundling. I would call several of you, and we would have something at somebody's winery, and everybody would come and write a check, and we would put all those checks together and hand them to the elected official or the person running for the open office. We're not going to continue to do that. This would just be an added feature. And again, TWGGA has gotten to the point, the industry has gotten to the point where we're large enough and substantial enough that this is something we need to undertake. And it will, again, add to our credibility and our abilities to influence and have a seat at the table as alcohol legislation is considered. There'll be more on that. Hopefully everybody will participate. Again, it's voluntary. You certainly don't have to, but would highly recommend. And there'll be more on that as we progress through the remainder of the year. Any questions so far? I thought I saw one pop up, Sabrina.
Got it. Up. Hold on.
I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah. Okay. That was there. That's one question about the TABC.
I have a couple of things while you're looking at those questions. We're working, it was approved in this last legislative session that Kyle pointed out to us that Texas A&M was allocated some monies to do a grape report. So we're working with Justin Shiner, who I think is on the call, to be kind of a liaison to the industry and how that's executed. But they're in charge. Texas A&M is in charge of that project.
Yeah, it was very exciting. We got $15,000 for a crush report. A couple other just political tidbits, which is kind of one of the reasons that the whole grassroots effort and Vine Roots effort and the fundraising has the desire for these have intensified some. Some of you may know or may not know Senator Nelson, who's been a long time supporter of our industry from the Denton County area. Is retiring, and she is easily one of the most powerful politicians in the state. She's been chairman of Senate Finance for many sessions, and we've been just really lucky to have her on our side. And I can tell you a number of stories where she made a difference on particular issues in the past. She has decided to retire and strangely enough, go grow grapes. Obviously we wish her well, but we'll miss her. And then also Senator Dawn Buckingham, who's from here in the Austin area, Travis County, and west of here. She has decided to run for higher office. She's running for land commissioner, where I told her she does us absolutely no good at all. So we lost her as well. So our three big supporters in the Senate, those two, and then of course Drew Springer, who's up in the Munster area, we lost 2/3 of our backstop there, and so that means we've got to create some new ones, and so that's really kind of the driving force behind the effort, to the Vine Roots effort, and the creation of the political committee to give contributions. The Senate is changing considerably. The House always changes. That's just the nature of the House, and we need to get more politically involved. We've depended on particularly Senator Nelson for many years, and she's been really good, good to us. And for those of you who've been around for a while, you remember all the different things she's done for the industry. But it's kind of like, when Frank Madla left, that was a big hurdle to overcome for those of you that remember Senator Madla. So now we're faced with this situation again, and so we don't have any choice but to get more politically active than we've been in the past. And so hopefully these new programs will allow us to do that.
All right. Do we have any other questions for Kyle, or what's going on in the legislative session right now? All right. Okay. So before we move into our breakout sessions, thank you, Kyle. Our regional meetings, we just wanted to give you guys this legislative update. I want Sabrina to talk a little bit about the events that we have coming up. But I want to say, I do want to say this: your membership dues help pay for people like Kimberly and Kyle to be boots on the grounds, and making sure we're able to do what we do. And when they steer us in the wrong direction, we regroup and bring them back, whether it be TABC, TTB, your elected officials, and bring them back to what our cause is, both on the viticulture side and the winery side, because we all need representatives out there. We can't do it alone. So I think that's really important. I want to comment that Sabrina, who's been very present on this call, has been working tirelessly in the office. She is truly passionate about our industry, and she is an advocate for all of you guys every day, day in and day out. So kudos to Sabrina for everything that she does. All the communications that are coming out of the office now, the newsletters, the TABC FAQs, the updates, the regional educational sessions that Meredith and Justin have been putting together, those are all uploaded on the website thanks to Sabrina. So all of this information and resources are available to you as members on the website. And we're going to continue to be pushing that and using that platform to get this information to you and get you updated. We also, just so you know, we've started a monthly call with all the regional associations: North Texas, Texas Hill Country, the High Plains, Texas Vineyard Cooperative, regional associations. So we're connecting a little bit more our state, if you will, and what other efforts are going on in the state, both from a marketing standpoint, operational standpoint. So we're kind of boots on the grounds doing that now. And those are kind of the bigger things I wanted to touch on. I don't want to use up too much of your time, but Sabrina, can you do a quick rundown of what's coming up and save the dates for you guys?
A lot of very fun activities on the books and happening, and finally being able to be in person again, albeit COVID Delta has dealt us a little blow. We have made the decision to move forward with all these events and implement COVID safety measures in person. The first event is going to be the Lone Star International Wine Competition. Many of you whose names I see as attending have already submitted your wines. We are taking wine entries through the 17th of September, with the wines being delivered no later than the 20th. And then the judging is the 6th and the 7th. You can register if you go to our webpage. There's a Lone Star competition webpage that will take you directly to the registration through eNoFile. So if you all have not registered, you are strongly encouraged to do so. And if you are a member in good standing, you should have received from me your member letter with your discount codes. Those are your promo codes that reward you for being a member in good standing. So please, we strongly encourage you to participate in that. That's again going to be held judging October 6th and 7th in Grapevine, Texas. The second event is going to be back live, 2021 Grape Camp and Expo. We have moved the location to Dripping Springs Ranch Park and Event Center in Dripping Springs. It is larger, more updated, no more electricity coming from cords in the ceiling, as those of you who have been before, Wi-Fi accessibility. So all the nice amenities that we have come to expect to make things run more efficient and to give everybody the opportunity to participate. It is going to be a much larger exhibit hall where instead of 20, we're going to have 50. We have some great educational lineup that Meredith and the education team have put together. We're finalizing that this week, and registration for attendees is going out on the 7th after Labor Day. But if you know of anybody that would be interested as an exhibitor or a sponsor, please send them to me. We are filling those exhibitor booths up and filling the sponsorships up. And then finally, please save the date for the 2022 annual conference, which we engaged in the offshoot of the virtual conference in 21. So the annual conference and trade show will be February 17th through the 19th in Denton, Texas, which is a little town north of Dallas. So you would fly into DFW and drive north. It's about 30 miles. It's at the Hilton Embassy Suites near the Denton Convention Center. We will not be in the convention center. We will be in the embassy. So everything's going to be one-stop shop where you can stay, eat, go to the bar and have, you know, some networking time. But the education series and the expo are all in the same location. So we're dynamically working on educational aspects of that too. And if any of you have specific educational needs or wants or desires, or have seen or heard somebody at somewhere else and you think that they would be wonderful for us, please let myself know, and I will make sure that Meredith gets the information, because we are, you know, actively pursuing those kinds of speakers. So we've got a lot on our plate, very actively, and it's a lot of fun. So look forward to seeing a lot of you in person finally come Grape Camp. Roxanne, is there anything else?
No, thank you very much. So
Okay.
how are we going to organize who goes where?
What I have to do is go into each person's profile. Let's see. Hold on. Okay. Let me go. If down on the right-hand side, if you guys will look, you should see a button with 4 little squares. It'll say breakout rooms. So I have opened all the rooms, and I can go one by one, and you are invited to go and join them yourself. But I can assign you to positions. Let me just do this. Andrea.
Region 3, please. I don't see the buttons.
Okay.
We don't see the button with the squares.
Okay, I'm going to go down and ask you. I'm going to go down the names then. Andrea, Region 3.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Ann Chastain. Ann.
Everybody
Sorry.
unmute.
The North Texas.
Got it.
2.
Ben Jeter.
Sorry.
I'm in the Gulf Coast. I'm not sure what
Got
region.
it. That's Region 3. Betty, where do you want to go, hon? Betty?
1.
Oh, wow, there, I saw the finger come up. Okay. I see a 512797. Who is that? Where do you want to go? Okay, come back, Beverly. Make sure you take yourself off mute so I can hear you. Beverly Spawn. Bill, I'm putting you into run. Bree Crowley.
Hill Country.
Thank you. Carolyn Chancellor.
You can put Carolyn and Sandro in region 2.
Okay,
Yes, thank you.
thank you. Fran, obviously region 3.
Yes.
January for region 5. Gotcha. Jen Carroll.
2, please.
Thank you, ma'am. James, putting you in 3. Joe, putting you in 1. John, it just says John. I don't know who John is.
Matthews, it's 2.
Oh, okay, thanks. Julie Denton.
North Texas.
Thank you. Julie Culkin, I'm getting you into 5. June Ritterbush. Kaylin, I'm putting you,
June's Hill Country.
okay, thank you. Kaylin, I'm putting you in 4. June, there you go, sweetie. Kirk into 1. Oh, wait a minute, where did everybody go? Everybody go. Okay, Kyle, where do you want to start? Kyle, do you want to start anywhere? Meredith? Put in
Region- region
Wherever you
2.
want to send me.
Okay, I'm just going to start you with number 1 and you can move around. Michael?
Mike
Cook?
Gamble, Region 3.
Michael Cook? Pat Hale?
Region 3, please.
Thank you, sir. Hi, Pete. Hi, Pierre. Pierre, am I putting you region 1?
Yes, please.
Uh-huh. Richard Anderson.
North Texas.
Thank you, sir. That's region 2. Richard Aubrey.
5.
Thank you, sir. Roxanne, where do you want to start, ma'am?
Skip me for now.
Got it. Rusty Malden.
North Texas.
Got it. Sandro, tell me again.
2, please.
Thank you, sir. Scott P. Susan Steger.
She's 2.
Got it. Oh, I see her in here twice. I guess she's on phone and computer. And Steve Patterson, where do you want to go, sir?
2.
Got it. Scott P, I didn't hear from you. Come on. Okay, Tiffany, got you in region 3. Travis Morris.
2.
I didn't hear you, sweetie.
2.
Thank you, sir. Tyler Bowen. Tyler Bauer.
2, please.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so who's Walt? Walt? Anybody named Walt?
That's
Beverly-
Walter Hooper. Go to 2.
Got it. Okay, Michael Cook.
I think he said 2. Couldn't hear him.
Yeah, I can't hear him. Okay, Beverly Spahn. 512797.
That's Austin.
Hill Country, please.
Thank you. Thought so,
Thanks.
but don't know. Okay, iPhone not joined. There's Justin. Where are you going?
3, please.
Got it. Okay, Roxanne, you're left. Where do you want to go?
Beverly's in region 2. Do her.
Okay.
Susan's in 2. And
Uh-huh.
then I'm thinking I should go to 5. There's probably
it.
no there. Who's in there?
I can tell you. Bree, January, Julie Colkin, June Ritterbush, and Richard Aubrey.
Let me go get a beating. Go send me there.
All right. If you want to come out of your beating, we'll see you later. Okay. Scott P. Travis, you're back. I can't hear you.
How do I get to room 2?
I thought I'd put you there, but let me try you back here. That is really strange. I thought I put you there.
I went to room 1.
Oh, I am so sorry. Hold
No
on.
problem.